training their new guys, in a panel operation to be able to have them well-rounded mechanics, and think about it when they get out into the field, that they need to know how to improvise. That's very, very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're out there with a crew and it's live,
Sure.
there are a million things coming at you.
Exactly.
And you got to know how to improvise and move and be. And, I think some of these panel yards, there are people working in there that enjoy that. That's really all they want to do. And, and there's a class of worker that just wants to come in and do the same thing every day and maybe switch it up a little bit, finish one day, spread mud the next day, maybe stick foam the next day, and whatever it is.
Sure.
There's a place for those guys too.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just started following this thing to see the track of when a guy comes into a panel yard and he's never done construction, a guy or a girl. I mean, just a human being comes in. How long is it before they move up or go out into the field, or do they go out into the field? And if they do, what is their career like there? So there's, with being relatively new, I don't think there's enough data yet, but it's an interesting look. I'd be interested to see.
Yeah. Well, the future will tell the story for sure.
Absolutely.
On that, because a lot of these big guns now have panel operations, and they've done a good selling job to the owners to where they can fast track these jobs, get these buildings closed up faster. And if they're exterior skins are pretty easy, and they're not super cut up. Their window patterns are the same and the joints are the same and so on and so forth. But it's good for the owners. It's good for our industry, because it keeps those wet trades working.
Yeah.
In
Absolutely.
our industry, and we want that.
We do.
We want to keep those guys.
We need construction to keep going.
Absolutely.
My son told me something, and I never realized it before. And we were looking at a picture, and it's one of those nighttime cityscape things. You see all the lights and the sunset going down. He goes, Dad, what do you think is unique about this picture? I go, it's beautiful. I don't know. He goes, everything you see there was touched by a human being. It exists because of a human being or human beings.
Yes.
Everything. Our built environment.
Exactly.
You don't realize the impact the construction
it's massive.
It's huge.
It's the biggest industry on the planet. It really is. Because you start thinking about all the components that go into a building. They were manufactured somewhere. And I think technology is awesome, but I also think that human hands need to touch things to make the whole thing rotate in a circle.
Right.
Where when you start getting automation, you're taking the human hands off of that. And as you take that away, the owners of the companies are making money, less liability, and so on and so forth. But there's still people that need to program that equipment and stuff like that. But that's taking some jobs away from people that would normally touch this stuff.
Right.
So like when you are buying, for instance, blinds at one of these big box stores, and they have all the packages of screws and brackets and so forth. Well, those were human hands that put those in those packages and put the piece of tape on it and so forth. It may have, and it sounds small, but it's a huge deal for our economy, the way that all works. And, another thing about this podcast is, most young guys are the same, bigger, better, faster. They want to move up fast. They don't want to have to pay their dues to move up the ladder. And you cannot get around that. You have to put the time in, unless you are just totally exceptional. And if you are exceptional, you're going to be recognized by these guys that are running these jobs, and you're going to move up very quickly.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to be a moneymaker for these companies, and they need that.
Yeah.
They're looking for that daily.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah, it takes commitment, and you got to show up every day ready to go.
Yeah.
And accept any, just, hey, what's going to be new today? What can I learn today? I'm still learning about plaster and stucco and building science. I mean, to this day.
Yeah.
I still.
Yeah.
What a
It's
great career.
it is. It is. You know, you never thought in a million years from being wanting to be an attorney that you would be in the position that you're in today.
I even said, that's why I went to college. I said, I'm not getting into construction. There's no way. So I forgot to tell you, my uncle is a union electrician, and graduation, you know, me and my cousin are the same age. We grew up together really close. And he said, this is down in Tucson. He goes, how'd you like to be in the electrical union, become an electrician? I go, yeah, I'll look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I go and I take the aptitude test and the physical test and everything, and they accepted me. So I go, oh no, I'm going to be in construction. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do that.
Got it.
So I turned him down. My cousin went in, and I turned him down. So I had a chance to be a union electrician.
Wow.
Ended up a plaster.
And that could be a great career as well.
Oh, absolutely. My cousin did very well.
Yeah.
He was in Vegas for many, many years. And when they built that canopy in the older part of town, that big long tube.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What's
Fremont
Street.
Yeah.
He did all the wiring for that whole thing.
Is that right?
That was the
Wow.
job he was on.
A few miles of wires.
A few miles. So he's done very well. He lives in Colorado now. But
Got it.
yeah, just
Got it. Okay, so you're doing your plastering career. How in the heck did you get involved in the associations? Because you were, tell us about how you
through my second career.
Yeah.
So
in the same industry.
In the same industry, yeah. I love the industry. Many times I had many opportunities to get out of it, and I could never really pull the trigger to get out of it for various things doing, and I love it too much.
Sure.
So I mentioned I had my own business. I got, as with all brotherhood relationships, me and my brother work well together until we don't. And, I get frustrated and whatever was going on. I figured, I could do this better myself. And so I went into business for myself in New Mexico doing restuccos.
Yep. All right.
And I did that for 2.5 years. And I learned two very important things. One is I'm a better plasterer than I am a businessman. And being in your own business takes way more time than I was putting, even working full time and doing side jobs. So it didn't work. I had to bankrupt the business.
It's quite an illusion, huh?
Oh man, my hat's off to all these guys, especially the big guys.
Sure.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody in business. My hats are off to them for being able to stay in business. I commend every one of them. It takes a different mindset. At the time, I didn't have it. Just my brain was young, whatever reason I didn't have it. So I'm looking at facing total financial devastation. And this opportunity came up with Drive It. They were looking for a field service manager. And so through a series of people I was associated with, the distributor, they knew that we were spreading acrylic finish. I had experimented with some of Drive It's new elastomeric finish that they were trying to bring in. So they brought it to us in New Mexico and we played around with it. I told them, do this, do that. And I applied for the job. And so I got it. They hired me.
Wow.
And I got to say, it saved me financially. It just kind of reset my whole life direction.
Well, it was a total different direction.
Way different. I had no idea. But the advantage I had is I knew my trade really, really well. And I knew eifs really, really well. And I knew a lot of, I don't call them shortcuts, time savers, things to do to minimize the movement, to minimize, your energy on a job.
Sure.
And I shared that. So, as part of a field service manager, you go out and you train people how to do eifs. And I met some fantastic people. I got to say, I met a whole bunch of really great people in the eifs industry. So I'm working as a field service manager with Drive It, doing installations, helping people with installations, teaching them, showing them my tricks. And we were in the West, so the West was the largest producer. This was going way back, 97, 96. The eifs debacle, the big Wilmington, North Carolina incident, moisture intrusion was just starting to happen. The hurricanes had hit. They were having started some discovery. that hit the eaves industry, and eaves almost went away. It didn't go away, but it almost went away.
Sure.
And so we were starting to now train for these new drainage systems. Touted as new. You know, Drivit had a drainage system way before that. It was a pressure equalized and drainage system. Some thinker had just developed, I don't know, 10 years before. Morcelli was very, very progressive in developing eaves. Drivit always took their profits and invested a huge amount back into innovation, development, that kind of stuff. So I got to give them credit. So through my years of Drivit, I meet a lot of good guys, but I also meet my competition. And I say competition, the other big names, Stowe, Synergy, Parex, all these other guys. And rather than hold them at arm's length, I embraced all these guys. And I said, guys, we're talking about an industry. Let's work together. We work with the same contractors. Let's do the same things. I got to know these guys, the other field service guys. And technical people, whoever they are. And we kind of developed a relationship. I'm still friends with a lot of them today.
Got it.
So I'm doing all this, and then work gets really, really busy. Vegas is just off the charts busy. The regional sales manager is just burning himself out. And he goes, I need help. Because I want to create another position. And I forget what the position was. Technical advisor or something like that. Where you help with sales and you still do technical. And so I got that position. Me and a couple of other guys in the building. So now I'm kind of a hybrid, doing some sales, working with architects, still doing technical, and did that for 3-4 years, and then became a regional sales manager. The regional sales manager retired, and I became regional sales manager of the West. So with the exception of Oregon and Washington, the states. I didn't cover that area, but Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, New Mexico, California, Colorado, West Texas.
You took a whole different career change.
Completely different.
Amazing.
And it, again, this new vision, the new things that were happening just filled me. I'm like, I'm learning things,
And you understood the basics of it, though.
I did
already.
I knew how things went together. I knew the what, I knew the how. I was learning the why, and that's what really intrigued me is the why. I remember every time I would go to Drivit headquarters in Rhode Island, my first trip was up through the engineering lab. I wouldn't even walk in the front door. I'd go through the engineering guys first. What's new? What are you guys doing? What does this mean? What does that mean? What's all this stuff? I was fascinated by the why of things. I learned about the testing and about how these products go together. What does it mean when something cures versus when it dries? Why 40 degrees? All that stuff. I learned that.
Yeah.
And I loved it because those are all things that you put them in your kit.
Absolutely.
When you're out in the field, you go, I got the answer to that right here.
Exactly.
I learned that. And you put it back in your kit.
You never want to say, hey, I'll have to get back to you on that.
Rarely.
Right.
Sometimes I did.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But the more you have in your toolbox, the better. And especially understanding it so you can explain
Absolutely. It. And then we go to the plants. And so I watched how it was manufactured. And I saw the quality control that went into it. And I learned how the colors mix and how you add certain things to make something do something here and there. And when you have a problem, this is what it probably means. So it's just, again, filling me with new stuff, new horizons. And I was traveling a lot. A lot. So as part of my regional sales manager duties, I became a full-fledged regional sales manager, and there were technical people working under me now, field service managers. I heard about the Wwcca, this association, and more importantly, I found out that the big players would go to these meetings. They had membership meetings. I go, that's where I got to be. I have to go talk to these guys. I got to go meet the names of the companies.
Sure.
So I started showing up to meetings, and then they were asking for people to talk about products, but not sell products, but talk about how they perform and what they do. And I go, I'm your guy. Let me talk about eaves. Let me talk about drainage. Let me talk about these new finishes. Let me talk about this other stuff. And so I started doing presentations at these membership meetings. And I remember one time, me and a fellow, one of the architectural reps, were in Phoenix. I'm still living in Albuquerque at this time. We were in Phoenix on a Saturday doing an AIA show. And I'm not in the best mood because it's Saturday and I'm in Phoenix. My family's in Albuquerque and I'm normally home on weekends, right?
Sure.
Those are my times
Yeah.
to be home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing this show. And I get a call from the manager from Las Vegas, Bob Campbell. And I got to know Bob pretty good. He goes, Albert, what are you doing? I says, man, I'm working a show right now. He goes, can you get away for maybe half hour? I go, why? He goes, well, we're interviewing for a position, for a manager's position with the Wwcca because we're going to open an Arizona office. And he goes, I had one guy show up. He goes, I need somebody else to come interview. Bob, I'm not looking for a job. I'm good with driving, man. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm asking you as a favor, please. All right, Bob, I'll do it. I'll go over there and interview. Got a bunch of contractors in the room. The CEO, Ian Hendry, Mark Fowler was there, Bob. I interview. First words out of my mouth. I want to let you guys know right now, I'm doing Bob a failure. I'm not a favor. I'm not looking for a job. I just want to be right up front with that. I've always hit people with the truth first, even when it's hard, because it's easier to deal with stuff when you hit them with the truth first in its entirety.
Yeah.
So I figured I'm going to start off with that. Here's the truth. Now let's see where this thing goes. And we talk and we jibber jabber and I give them my brief history, blah, 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 blah. I leave. I'm not even out of the parking lot. I get a phone call from Bob. Albert, they really liked you. Bob, I'm not looking for a job. He goes, why don't you just look at the package? We're going to make you an offer. Will you do that? Sure. And that's how I got in.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
man.
they made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Wow.
And some little backstory to that is I had been traveling for 12 years and I'm a very dedicated person and I will travel when I need to travel. And there was a lot going on. Vegas was just off the charts busy. Southern California, I call it a black hole because you go there and you just can't leave. There's so much to do.
Exactly.
Texas was very much like that.
Yep.
We just had it going on. They were great, great years. And so I was doing a lot of traveling, catching all the trade shows, working with industry professionals, just going like a madman. And it was wearing on my family life.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
I could sense it. And my wife, God bless her, tolerated it.
Yeah.
And she just kind of hung in and hung in and hung in and hung in. And I just, I looked at this opportunity. They said, you got to move to Phoenix. So I go, all right, I'm out of New Mexico. There's a path out of New Mexico.
Sure.
I'm back in Arizona, which is my home state. That's where I'm from. And so I just talked it over with my wife and through some heavy lobbying for her to follow me,
Yeah.
I convinced her to move to Arizona and I took the job.
Got it.
Starting out as a manager in Arizona for the Wwcca.
And that had turned union. So there were some guns over there that like Pete King and so forth.
Yeah, Pete King is union only with the painters union for their painting. All the other stuff they're not. E&K, MKB, local home guy.
Yeah, A-Rock.
A-Rock not.
They were at one point.
They were
right?
at one point, but
Yeah.
there's a long story to that.
Yeah, because they
I
were
care
here.
not to go into.
Yeah, and, okay, that's fine. Because
Respect those guys a lot, though. Good company.
they came into SoCal, back in the 80s, and they were poaching a lot of good talent, on that. And I don't know what happened with it. I was working in.
They went up to Northern California and then back to Arizona. Yeah, and Pete King was one of the big ones. E&K was there. Let's see, PCI.
Yeah.
There in Arizona. And so the Carpenters had rejuvenated and moved into Arizona. So they created what was called the Southwest region. Mike McCarron was running the Southwest region. They put a bunch of states together, combined some training funds and other stuff, and they made a presence in Arizona during the George Bush days.
Got it.
And they opened up this beautiful training facility there, just one of the Carpenter buildings.
They are state of the art.
They are state of the art. I give it to them. They're progressive.
For sure.
They are.
For sure.
So that's how the association. So then the contractors got together, and they were always fractured, and I don't want to say fractured, in their own silos of doing business.
Sure.
Right. But in a large non-union market, they're being attacked. It's a race to the bottom, and I'll talk a little bit about some of that, but it's a race to the bottom in this right to work state. And so they said, we need to all get together. Let's get this association over here. And that's how we ended up interviewing, and then I came on board.
Got it.
And the first thing to do is get these guys together and let's start talking. So first thing I had to do is learn, well, what is an association and how does it work?
Sure.
I didn't have a clue.
Got it.
I knew it to the extent that we had the meetings.
Yeah.
I knew it to the extent that they deal with a bunch of people, but I didn't understand the inner workings of it. And so I kind of, I'm just curious by nature. And if I don't know something, I'm picking up a phone calling. And I called, Ian Hendry, I bugged him relentlessly. Sometimes I'd have to ask him 2 or 3 times. I know I asked you this once, and I know I forgot the answer, but man, can you tell me again, what is this?